Record. Welcome to the recording for everybody on the replay. Again, I didn't hit record straight away. So, you know, there's stuff in there that potentially, you know, if you're like reading it, or if you're, you know, with me, we're going through it and you're kind of like, that feels totally awkward for me to say, that does not sound like me, then like reframe it and reword it so that it does sound like you, because there's some questions in there that are really important for you to ask in order for you to get their objections up like straight away. Do you know what I mean? Like, we want to know what all the objections are going to be, because we want to be able to overcome those objections. Right? It's like if we've done the soul avatar work, which we have, like we're speaking our opinion over information, we're repelling the people who aren't our people, where we know who our soul avatar is. We've done that work. We've, you know, and the soul avatar work isn't in this month, but the soul avatar work is in the Badass Business module. Okay, so I will actually drop the link for anyone who hasn't done the soul avatar work. I'll drop the link into the chat. I'll write that on my to-do list. Because, you know, once we've actually done that process and we understand who exactly our soul avatar is and who they're not, right? We've got really clear on that. Then the people that we're attracting, they are actually a fuck yes. It's just that they're going to have objections, just like everybody has objections, right? I think that there's a very, very small percentage of people who, I'm just going to write it down, who don't have objections at all. You know, like everybody has objections depending on what's going on in their life. And so it's our job as their coach and their mentor and someone who wants to help them in their life, for them to like see that the faster they get started with us, the faster their life changes, because we know that, right? Like, we know the faster they get started with us, their life changes. Like every single one of you guys in here, you know, you message me a couple of weeks in and you're like, oh my God, this stuff is incredible. Like, rah, you know, and so I know what I can give to people and what I can like help people to shift through and experience. Yet I've first got to get them into my program. Yeah. And they don't know that yet. And so this is the process that we have to take them through. Now, know as well that, you know, most people won't move until, like, most people use pain to leverage. And so most people won't move from where they are until they've got, you know, a quite a high pain threshold, you know, like they're in a fair bit of pain. Like the pain of staying the same needs to outweigh the pain of moving, right? Most people don't want change. Most people don't know what the outcome is. Most people, you know, they haven't uploaded those courage codes and things that they need to take like bold, courageous action and just leap and follow. And most people aren't that connected to their soul and to their higher self and to the information that's actually coming through for them to take the leap. Most people aren't connected. Yeah. And so when we went through a couple of weeks ago and we did, and Karen, you weren't here yet, but we did the, that's another place that I'll send you, is the marketing, the marketplace behavior. We talked about the marketplace behavior and the things that people think that they have, that's their problem, compared to what's actually going on for them. Right? Like they think, you know, no leads, like I'm getting the wrong people on the sales calls and all this stuff. But what's really going on is they're not connected. They're not doing their vibe practices. You know, they're not following that internal compass. They're not leaping, you know, they're not leaning into fear. They're not uploading the coding. And then also, you know, they haven't done the soul avatar work. And so they just kind of like, you know, operating from a place of scarcity, thinking that everybody is their client, when instead of actually being bold enough to repel the people who aren't, right, and only attract people who are. So you know, when we get them on the call, it's like we do have to scratch up the pain. Like we do have to scratch up and get them to see that, you know, if they don't take the leap now with us, what does the next 12 months look like for them? Because guaranteed, and I even say this to people, guaranteed that if you don't get started now, I'll talk to you in another 6 to 12 months and you wouldn't have got any better results. You'd be still living the same life. And I'll talk to you again, right? But after that, that's it. If you don't say yes, that's it. Because if you can't say yes to your dreams, then I can't want it more than you want it, you know? And so I won't actually have a third phone call. sometimes it's situational and people aren't ready to get started right now. So I will have a second call, but after that I won't, because they're obviously not my person. They're not willing to lean into the fear. Yeah. So the first thing that we're really going to talk about is the psychology of the sale, being that we're making this, and I normally have slides for this, but I'm a bit unorganized being on holiday. So I'm just going to talk through this with you guys. Okay. So, you know, the psychology of the sale being that we buy things like through emotion first and foremost, right? It's like emotionally we make a decision. Like we feel like we want something because it's going to give us the feeling of something. Like, why do we actually want that thing? Because it's going to make us feel a certain way. You know, why do I even want the 20 or 40 or 100K months? It's not the money, right? It's the thing that the money is going to make me feel. Okay. And we went through our values and everything, you know, in the last training, where it's like, how do I want to feel? And so people are making that decision based on their emotions first. And so for us, first and foremost, so for us, we've really got to scratch those up and figure out what's actually going on for the person. Once we've got them on the call, figure out, okay, cool, what's actually going on for them at an emotional level? Like, what are they wanting to create, and why are they wanting to create that, bringing it back to an emotional level? Yeah. And then from there, people kind of rationalize that decision to buy through their emotions. They actually rationalize that through the physical, like cognitive then, right? They like, okay, cool. So for example, they might say, you know, one example is with weight loss, right? It's like, if we're talking to somebody about them losing weight, well, them losing weight isn't enough really for them to make the change. But the fact that they can't play with their kids because they're puffing too much and they can't spend time with their family, and that gets them at an emotional level, that is a big enough reason for them to then go and lose the weight, right? So it's like we need to understand what's going on for people at an emotional level. The same as like, you know, upgrading the car. If people are buying a new car, then they're buying it from originally a point of like, okay, it's likely to be, okay, I'm getting a message. Maybe that's someone trying to get in. No. It's likely to be in the originally, you know, a feeling that they want to feel from that car, right? But then they might rationalize that with the fact that, oh, well, I need a bigger family car. It's logical to me to upgrade my car because I have extra kids or whatever it is, right? So they're going to sort of rationalize that with like the logics behind it, but they're actually making their decision based on an emotional point first, yeah? So we need to work out what the results are that they're wanting to achieve, and what they desire, like why they're actually wanting to achieve that, okay? And so the next thing, and this will make more sense as I actually take you through the scripts and show you exactly how I say things and why I say certain things, right? And these sales scripts, I got these from Alex, and I've tweaked them for myself. And these sales scripts they're $1 million sales scripts. Like they're so coded that, you know, if you've got the right person on a call, and you'll know within the first 10 to 15 minutes, once you qualify them, it's like, cool, yes, I can help you. And once you know that you can help them, and remember as well that if you can't help them, there's some things coming up that you're like, oh, no, that's my hell no avatar. There's a heap of excuses, or there's all this stuff coming up, and you feel energetically, you're like, oh, nah, that I can't actually help you. Then it's important also that you send them away, because you actually don't want to have that person in your group, in your team, in your programs, when they're going to, you know, like, one person that's a hell's no avatar, it's like 10 other people, you know, energetically, it's just going to like drain the hell out of you. Okay. So it's important also that you send them on their way if they're not the person. But once you've qualified them, and you know that they are the person, then it's a matter of really understanding what results they're wanting to achieve, and also why they're wanting to achieve those. Like, what's the desire behind it, right? So that you can start to scratch up if they don't achieve that. You know, what is it going to look like for them? Because they're making that decision from the emotional place first and foremost, right? So there's 7 kind of like principles of the psychology of selling that I thought are going to really benefit you guys. Okay, so I'm going to go through those first and foremost. And the first one is really the fact that when we can weave these as well through our sales process. And it's giving you an awareness of why we're doing certain things in the sales process, especially things like the free programs, like free lead magnets, etc., that we're going to start to uncover more as we go through this month. Okay, so when we're talking about, first and foremost, the principle of when someone gives something to us, okay, we feel obliged to give something back. Okay, so this is the first principle. It's like when we feel, for example, if we're walking through the shops and there's the bakery there, right, and they give us free samples, and we like, I always walk past those free samples because I know that if I have a free sample, I'm going to buy it because I feel compelled then because someone's given me something to buy one of their breads, right? And if I know that I don't want to buy, I'll like avoid it like the plague and walk around it, okay? So this is the first piece. It's like, why do we give people these free programs, these free lead magnets, something of value for them to actually benefit them, okay? The reason why we're doing this is because not only when we're giving people this information, we're seen as an authority. So there's a couple of things here that this will relate to. And that's one thing. But also, when you're giving something to somebody, they then feel kind of compelled to give something back, or to at least hear you out, right? And to look at their perspective in a different way. They're open to at least giving you some of their time to get on a call with you, right? Or to be open enough to listen to and actually drop into what you're saying, right? And to allow you to help them, okay? So we do this sort of thing with free gifts, okay? Or free 5-day programs, or, free lead magnets for anything, guys. You could do up like a quiz for people for their like body type, or, like a fitness quiz, or some sort of any sort of lead magnet like that. Some sort of, like, for me, I'm just putting one together at the moment around content, okay? So people can have a couple of training videos and some templates for them for content, right? Because if I give them a gift around refining their content, they're likely to then give to me, well, number one, their email address. And at this point, that's all I want from them, right? Is just for them to go into my email database, because that's what I want to do. I want to do it at my email database. And if I gift to them a free couple of trainings about content, they're going to gift back to me. Okay, they're going to give to me their email address, right? And then they're also likely, if I keep giving them things and keep giving them free gifts and keep giving them value, then they're going to, from there, once I've done my templates, so that they're going to my ClickFunnels, and then they're going to the thank you page, and then there's an opportunity for them to book a call with me. They probably didn't have any initial thought to book the call, but because I've gifted them and given them so much value, they're then like, oh well, okay, yeah, I'll book a call. Yeah, so this is kind of how this works for people at a psychological level. It's 8 a.m, you guys, okay? Bear with me. And I've only had one coffee so far. Okay, so it's like, this is why we're gifting them to actually help them, because then they're likely to feel so much gratitude towards our business. And this is what we want to start to instill in people, like the gratitude towards what you bring to the table, and also your authority. And that's another one of the principles, okay? So it's really, it's kind of like an ethical way to bribe people to just get them to give you your email or whatever it is, okay, whatever you're asking for, all right? The next thing is commitment and consistency, okay? So this is really what this relates in sales to people will go to great lengths to appear consistent on their words or what they say they're going to do, okay? So, and their actions. So if they, for example, are wanting to lose weight, or you're wanting to achieve a business goal or something like that, if you put it on Facebook that you're going to do it, that you're going to lose 5 kilo, then you're much likely to then actually go ahead and do it, because you've it's holding you accountable, because you've said that you're going to do it. And if you don't do it, it makes you look bad, right? And so people will go to great lengths, even to the point of taking ridiculous action just so that they look good on their word, basically. Does this make sense? Okay, so this is like the principle behind human behavior and what we do, okay? So it's like, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. We're likely to do it, all right? So this is why we want our customers to, in a base of okay, how does this relate to my sales process? Well, we want our customers to make like micro commitments to us. Okay. And this is why we, again, we do things like lead magnets. We create things that people can have a micro commitment to. For example, the 5-day programs, when we're in there, we want to build engagement and have them saying yes multiple times. Yeah. For me, when I have my 5-day programs, I have questions in the entry of the 5-day program saying, do you want to be considered for the $1,000 scholarship coaching with me, right? And they'll say, fuck yes, right? Some of them say no, and that's cool. But most people will say, fuck yes, I want to be considered, right? So it's like I'm getting a micro commitment from them straight away. They've already told me that they want my coaching. It's like bam, right? So this is what we're playing off the psychology of people will be willing to do crazy stuff just to look good on their word, basically. Okay, the commitment and consistency of or appear committed and consistent in their word, right, in their actions. So we want them to say yeses as well multiple times in the sales call, okay? And this is what relates to our actual scripting, why I've got certain questions that allows them to say, you know, even at a subconscious level, yeses multiple times, okay? So it's like, yes, I want $1,000 off coaching. Then yes, you know, when you're dropping potentially in a 5-day program, you're like, drop a fuck yes if you're committed to making 5k, you know, this month or whatever. And it's like, yes, fuck yes, I'm committed, right? So I'm asking them multiple times to tell me what their commitment level is, so that then when they go to, you know, they're psychologically, they're already committed, right? Another way that we're doing this is, you know, if they're signing up to our email database, for example, okay? So they're signing up to our email database. And again, they're more likely to eventually buy from us if they've given us multiple across the board micro commitments to us, saying, yes, I want your information. Yes, here's my email. Yes, here's my email again. Yes, fuck yeah, I want to create this. Fuck yeah, I want $1,000 off coaching, rah, rah, rah. And then they're more likely to then eventually buy from us, okay? So another really great way to sort of play off this side of like people's psychology is to, and guys, this is done in a very like integral way. This is not ever manipulating people. It's just understanding, when we can understand the psychology of like how people buy and just their psychology of how people show up as humans, we can then understand why we're doing certain things in our sales process, right? And the importance of getting these yes, 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 yeses. Because I promise you, it's like the moment that I started to, like, especially this one, understand that the more yeses I can get from people before I actually even get them on a call, the much higher the conversion rate is. Because once I've got them on a call, they've already said yes to me 1,000 times. So at a subconscious level, they kind of just sell themselves, right? It's like, how many of you guys on here on the replay actually sold yourself on the call with me? I didn't even really need to sell you. It was just like a conversational thing, right? And of course I took you through your pain points, but it didn't need to be a hard sell. It didn't feel like a sleazy sales call. A lot of the times we're scared of sales because we're scared of selling to people, because we don't want to be that pushy, like dirty old car salesman, right? Or the person that knocks on the door. And like our parents, our whole lives have told us that sales are bad. Sales are fucking sexy, right? Especially when we're doing this whole avatar work and we just get on a phone call, we're like, cool, what's going to happen in your life if you don't do this right there and you're right now? And they're like, no. We're like, cool, get started. Let's fucking get this shit going. It's like, seriously, say yes to your dreams. Say yes to your dreams. They've already said yes thousands of times before that. And so it's a much easier process, okay? Karen's like, yes, yes, yes. I totally sold myself on that call. She's like, yep, I was already a yes. give me the investment. Yeah, totally. So you experience this now in yourself as well. So it's like, cool, now how do I just recreate that? And so this is what we're doing. We're reverse engineering it, yeah? So the other really great way is, and the way that we play off this this part of people's psychology as well, is if you actually can get the products themselves in their hands, because of commitment and consistency, people are much more likely to buy from you if they've actually got the product, which is why we do our 5-day programs, right? So it's like a conversation that I had with Claudia, actually, I know she won't mind me sharing this with you, is that, you know, people prefer before, I had coached her, was sort of saying that, should I give so much information out and things like that? And this is a real thing that a lot of coaches teach and a lot of people think, is that I don't want to give too much information or too much of my program for free, because then why would they buy from me? Like, why would they buy my program when I'm sharing all of my information inside the 5-day program? But it's like, you guys are the missing link. People won't actually get off their ass and do anything and implement any of that information until you are holding them accountable and they're in your energy. It's like, you're the catalyst. Yeah. Without you, they're not going to change. Okay. And so it's like standing proud in that too, and understanding that I am the missing link. Without me, doesn't matter what information I give to you on my 5-day programs, you won't be able to piece it together yourself. So it's like, if you can stand in that power and be like, no, like, you actually need me, right? And so this is where giving people actual parts of your program, like you guys will notice, for those of you guys who did come through one of my 5-day programs, the trainings that I teach inside of there in the masterclasses, that it's actually the trainings from the program. Literally, you'll be watching the same one. I teach the soul avatar work, and then it's the exact same training inside the platform. You guys will be like, oh, cool, I've already done this, right? Do you care that you've already done that one training? You're looking at it with different eyes, with a new set of eyes and a new set of ears, and you're finding different things inside of the training. So it's perfect that you get to watch it a second time, right? And so what I'm giving people is actual parts of my product, and giving it to them, even if there's no official commitment from them to buy off me. Once they've actually been through my program and they've seen my product, then they're much more likely to buy from me, just because of the commitment and the consistency part of our psychology, right? And this is also why a lot of companies, and this is a really, I don't know, you can think about this, adding this into your own processes depending on, and this is probably something that we would definitely do on a one-on-one level with you guys if you're interested in how can I put this through my programs. But this is why companies do like a money back guarantee. And especially, like Healy and Enagic, not so much Enagic, but the Freedom, Enagic does have a return policy, but the Freedom era, there's a no questions asked money back guarantee. Because if you can make it as frictionless as possible for people to buy your product, and like Danos Direct, it's like you see something on the TV, it totally gets you because they use emotional triggers for, to emotionally trigger you to buy. And then when you buy, it's so frictionless to buy, because that if you get it, and I know this has happened to me thousands of times, I'm like, okay, I'll just get it for 2 weeks and then I'll just return it and it won't cost me anything. Are you ever likely to return it? Because you've already made the commitment, right? At a psychological level, you've already made the commitment. You're not going to return it. I've got so many Danos Direct shit, right? I never return it, okay? So this is why companies like, the Freedom Era and Healy, they have the money back guarantee, because it's just like, and this is why as well, you can kind of play off this too. It's like with your Healy, that once people use the Healy, it's going to change their lives, right? That, but they just don't know that yet. So using this, understanding the psychology around the commitment and consistency, but there's a money back guarantee. You have 2 weeks to try it. And so you're not going to, it's like you can't lose, because you can just return it and it's going to cost you nothing. They're never going to return it. I don't think anybody has returned to Healy so far. You know what I mean? So it's like, so understanding this principle is going to really support you, Karen, when you're like, there's no lose here, right? And this is why, because it's giving them an opportunity to have that product in their hands, even if there's no official commitment. And also, also a lot of people give away free product, right? So big companies will give away free product, come and do the trial for 2 weeks for free, because once people are actually in there, they're much more likely to go ahead and purchase, right? And then in 2 weeks, you get credit, your money comes off your credit card in 2 weeks. I never cancel my credit card. I always get billed, you know what I mean? Because you're already committed, right? So some of these things, it's like, how do we weave this through? I know coaches that give money back guarantee. I don't, because I work with my soul avatar. And so in my mind, nobody's ever going to want a refund because I'm going to help them shift so fucking rapidly. But, you know, if you're in a position where there's a way that we could put this through your program, it's definitely something that would be of huge benefit. And this is something that would work on a one-on-one level to talk about as well, okay? On all of your next calls, if you're interested, let me know. But this is why people do it, okay? So they're already committed, and so they're not likely to ever return it. And as far as our 5-day programs and the process that we take people through that I teach inside of Rapid Shift, you know, this is why we're giving people this information inside the 5-day programs, and this is why we need to give them all we've got. You know, give them all we've frigging got, and don't hide anything. Don't feel like you're giving it away for free, because the more they can see you as, fuck, she knows what she's talking about, and she's giving me all this information for free, the more likely they're going to be already committed enough to buy, or at least get on a call with you, okay? And once you've got them on the call, you know, you've got the sales script, and you can take them through the next process, and I'm going to teach you guys in this training, okay? So the number 3 principle I'm going to go through is like liking, okay? So if somebody likes you, they're much more likely to say yes, right? It's like if you recommend something to somebody, a movie or something, if they know you and they like you, they're going to go see it. But if I recommend a movie to some random person on the street, they're going to be like, fuck, I don't even know who you are. That's pretty weird, right? So they're likely to say yes if they feel a connection to the person that's giving them the recommendation, right? So this is why it's so important for us to create likability on our pages. And this is why it's so important for us to create connection on our pages. And this is why it's so important for us to start sharing our opinion instead of the old, boring, old fucking information that everybody's sharing. Guys, you can Google stuff and everything comes up. Like, you don't need to give people information, right? When I share the informative parts of my program, I share it from my opinion standpoint, right? I share it from the approach of like, this is my opinion about a soul avatar. I literally say the niche is full of crap. It's like the niche is just like, whoever says you need to target your niche is full of shit. I think that, like, I did a post that I can't remember what it was, but it was like, the niche means fuck all. It's like, or something like that. You know what I mean? So when I share information, I still share it from a place of, this is my opinion. You don't need to know who your fucking niche is. You need to know who your soul avatar is. And that person will connect with you because of the likability, the know, like, and the trust, right? That is why they'll buy from you. They'll buy from you because they like you. They'll buy from you because they have connection with you. And this is why it's so important to share, like to share our content from a place of storytelling and our experiences and what we believe about certain things and what our opinions are, because this is how people are going to connect with us, because they're going to have the same opinions. Yeah. And yes, this is fucking scary because it opens us up to be ridiculed, opens us up to trolls, people who have opposite opinions. I know, Tennille, we talked about, you know, when you were talking about like the cellulite and stuff like that, and we had that conversation. It's like, oh yeah, I don't know, that's like a pretty like massive thing for me to talk about, and like people are probably going to slam it. They probably fucking are going to slam it, right? But people who are like you are not going to slam it. They're going to be like, fucking hell, I totally agree with that too. Like, you're going to. It's like as well when we talk about our funnel. It's like when we have a funnel sequence and we're like, video, retarget with a different video, retarget with a different video, retarget with a different video. And so the pool of people at the bottom, there's a lot less people, right? But those people have watched every single one of your videos, so they're very, very warmed up. So even though the percentage of people who are left is very minute, those people are 100% bang on your soul avatar, right? Because you have given them all of these pieces, like, this is who I am, right? It's like, you know, like it or leave it kind of thing. And the people who don't resonate, they'll just leave, right? And so liking is a really, really important thing. And this is as well why people, just to sort of share how this relates in the actual kind of like marketing space of big companies, this is why people use like celebrities and things for their products, right? Like for their makeup or their weight loss, or, you know, you look at like Oprah, who did like the weight loss, whichever one she did, I don't even know, one of those ones. You know, that's why they used her, right? Because they used her likability, they used her stories. She told stories about her past, her pains, her stuff, and then people resonate and relate the product to Oprah Winfrey, right? Like they resonate with that. Okay. And so it's really, really important to have this likability on your page and to be connecting with people, right? Just keep my freaking toe, that really hurt. And also sharing stuff that people identify with, right? And that they also have as their identity, so that they can connect with it, right? And also, potentially using things like, if we're looking at, okay, how do we do this in our own processes? Well, interviews, right? It's like using famous people. Who could we interview, get on an interview that people would then resonate with as us being connected to this person and their story, right? So if we want to use like, okay, how does celebrities relate to me? When I went and did a 7-day intensive with Mark Lack, Mark Lack's like the biggest personal branding guy in the world now. He's a young bloke. He's younger than me. And I think he was going for $1 billion this year. I don't know if he's hit it. His first billion dollar year. But he was doing, 7-figure months at the point where I was, when I went and saw him and spent 6 days with him. And he built his entire brand through interviewing famous people. He was a nobody, right? And what he did was he paid for views. And this is the process that he taught us over the 6 days. He paid for the views, okay, he reached out to Grant Cardone, right? And be like, cool, I want to do an interview. I'll promise you like 1 million views on this video, right? And so then obviously that's of benefit to Grant Cardone, because more people are going to see him on the internet. And then when 1 million views sees Mark Lack and Grant Cardone having an interview, after they see it enough, they're like, who is this Mark Lack guy, right? And they start to follow him. So he's literally built his entire brand through paying for video views with famous people, right? So you can reach out to anyone famous and say to them, I'll give you 1 million views if you do an interview with me, right? And then we've got to make sure we don't have the vibe work, so that we've got the confidence and the courage to like really show up really well in that interview, right? But these people will actually do it. Okay, so I actually did that with Regan Hillier, and then I actually have to reorganize it. And then last minute something happened. She had a big drama and she couldn't do the interview, but I had it locked in, right? And she agreed to that. She agreed to, I don't even think it was 1 million views. It was like 500,000 views or something. She and her people agreed to it. Okay, so it's like, this is how you can use other people's like fame to build your own personal brand, right? But we can start in a small scale as well, right? So we don't want to start with interviewing Grant Cardone, but we can start in a smaller scale just by interviewing some of your upline, or by interviewing coaches that are in the industry who are, more known than you. You know what I mean? Like, just start to reach out to different people and start to interview them in their own expertise, because it shows you then as related to that person and an expertise in that area as well. Okay, and this really moves into like social proof as well, and authority, which is the next two that we're going to talk about. All right, so authority is number 4, and this is where we want to establish expertise in the space, right? We want to be seen as a specialist in the space. And so again, this also relates to things like interviews, because people are like hardwired basically to respond to authority. People are like, they're kind of like lemmings, you know what I mean? Like, people follow people who are in an authority like position, right? It's like we're taught in society as well to always look up to the authority as well. So it's kind of hardwired in us, right? Or even just the appearance of authority, right? And this again is why we are doing our 5-day programs and launching things and things like that, so that we can be seen as a specialist and establish expertise in what we're doing. Okay, and just know as well, it's like, doing one kind of launch is not enough, right? People need to see you over a consistent time doing things like writing an ebook, right? Writing an ebook is something that is like huge for creating authority and expertise in what you do. Okay, so over the Christmas holidays, I'm actually going to sit down and I've already mapped out what ebook I'm going to write. Okay, because I haven't done an ebook before, and it's really, really important to have these sorts of things and launch these as so that you can be seen as an expertise, right? Things like testimonies as well. Okay, so getting testimonies off people, actually getting them to write testimonies and then putting them on a nice little banner with their name and their and their label, you know, like even having someone's name and their label and then what they said about you, again, it establishes you as this expert because you've actually put their label there as well. This is who this person is, this is what they do, and this is what they said about me, right? Lead magnets, all sorts of different lead magnets, you know, so even just a training or a PDF or an ebook or something that's going to give them some sort of clarity or transformation, okay, so that they can then see you as the person that gave that to them and the expert in that area, okay? And again, the interviews, okay, interviews are really, really powerful. And again, like I said, starting with people like your upline. It's like, Nicole, I would be reaching out to Sarah. I'd be reaching out to like Sarah and asking her to do an interview, right? So that you can start to speak with people who are really like knowledgeable in healing and what it does and in energy, and you know, she'd be more than happy to chat to you about whatever you wanted to, right? She's very, very beautiful, open person and like very, very willing to serve, right? So there's so many people inside that community that first and foremost you could reach out to like build the muscle to this, right? Before you then want to reach out to all sorts of specialists. There's doctors, there's frequency experts, there's, you know, you could reach out to Marcus and get, however he says his name, and get an interview with Marcus, right? So that you're seen then as the authority inside of this space of frequencies and energy, right? You want to be seen as like rubbing shoulders with these people. Yeah. And also, you know, people want to get started with people who are doing stuff. People want to be around people who are like movers and shakers, and they're at conferences, they're doing things, they can see that they're a part of the industry. And a really simple, cheap and powerful way to be seen as this is to start to interview people, other people who are in the industry. Yeah. So I'd like actually to set you guys a little challenge to find somebody that, that you could interview in the next sort of over the Christmas months or even into January. Again, think of someone that you could actually reach out to and interview in the space. Okay, that would be really powerful. And it would really stretch you, you know. Is there anyone that you can think of right now that you that comes to mind? Anyone that you'd love to interview, even if it like scares the shit out of you right now? No? Oh, you guys are frozen. Oh no. Karen's frozen. I can't see if Nicole's frozen. Tennille's not there. All right. I'll continue, okay? So the next one is social proof, okay? So this is really connected to the principle of liking again, okay? And we're social creatures, right? Our psychology is that we are very social creatures. And so we tend to be really quite biased to people and to things that we already like or that we already know. Okay. So again, you know, like creating social proof with things like interviews, with things like reviews, with ratings, with all these sorts of things. Okay. Like if you're talking about a product in a sense of like what its ratings are, or what a lot of the time people do on their websites, they'll say the most popular buy, right? Or the highest, the product that's been sold the most in that month or whatever. And that's showing social proof, even though, God, they might not have sold many products, you know what I mean? They might have, you don't know how many products, but the best seller, you know, like this is the best seller kind of thing. And so even when you're talking about what package you want to sell, Nicole, for like Healy, it's like, you know, you can start talking about the best seller inside of that. So like the best seller is the highest package, right? And so it creates kind of like social proof, like this is the one that people are going for because it's the best seller. And it's like, it's playing off that psychology of people who want the social proof because they're going to be biased towards what other people are liking the most. If other people are liking the highest package the most, then they're more likely to go for the highest package just because other people are and they're fucking cheap, right? Basically. This is the psychology of people, you guys, okay? So yeah, the most popular and the best seller are really like good terminology to use, right? As well as like ratings and reviews and things like that. Number 6 is scarcity, all right? So people are motivated by the thought that they're going to miss out on something, okay? You think you're going to miss out on something, you're like, oh, I need that thing because I don't want to miss out. So I do this in a way of, if I've got 10 spots inside of the program, I'll actually put, every time someone signs up, I will do a post saying, congratulations, this person, right? You've just signed up. Also to congratulate these people, because I fucking love all of you guys, but also to create that idea of, oh shit, well, there was 10 spaces, now there's only 9, right? And now all of a sudden people will kind of like start to move and follow again. This is like kind of relating to both again, right? It's like the social proof as well as the fact that the spots are slowly diminishing, right? It's like, oh, I really wanted to do that thing, and there's like 1 space left. Okay, so playing off this psychology is a really powerful way in our marketing without, you know, we don't want to be like fully bringing scarcity in it, but just showing people that people are getting started, showing people how many other people have got started, showcasing ways that that people have already got started, and also that there's this amount of places that are left. Okay. What else did I have written down here? Okay, that's another thing that I wrote as a note. So, you know, this works really, really well, and a way that it will work even better, all right, and I've tweaked the way that I do this as well, is that if you're creating scarcity in using a post by saying, you know, this is how many places are left, or this is how many places that I had inside of here, and so there's people are seeing that there's this many left, and so they're feeling that feeling of like, oh, I don't want to miss out. Okay, they're getting that kind of feeling, but then there's not a very direct call to action or a very accessible, easy way for them to figure out how to get started. Then it's not going to work. Okay, so again, it's like announcing the scarcity is only getting you like halfway there, and then we need to give them enough information in order for them to act on that feeling that they're experiencing. Okay, so you could just do things like, if you're ready to book in a chat with me, right, or if the one of the 2 places that are left, you know, are yours, then book in a call with me and you put your calendar link or whatever. Okay, or you're linked into your 5-day program, but giving them some sort of way to take action on that feeling. Okay, that's what's going to get you the actual conversion into the lead, right, and then potentially into a sale. Okay, so it's just the little tweaks, right? So, you know, if you're saying you know, there's only 10 places left, then you need to have an obvious path for them to take in order to take up one of those 10 places. There is that. This is why also a lot of coaches do pre-sale prices. You know, a lot of coaches will do pre-sale prices. So for the first 48 hours, it's this amount, and then it goes up. This is playing on that scarcity psychology of people. It's like, well, shit, well, I want to get it at the pre-sale price. So, you know, I don't want to wait. So they'll buy. So long as, again, there's an actionable, easy place for them to actually go and sign up, right? If you're like, oh, you know, there's a pre-sale until this long, but then they've got to like reach out to you, and then they've got to figure out how to get the pre-sale, and it's not easy for them, and they're not going to take the action. People are like, they're lazy. They're in an obvious path to be able to purchase, right? This is another way that you can do this, that I've seen people do this, is that the training's only up until this certain amount of time. So again, it's like if you do your 5-day program or 3-day workshop, or if you have a group and you deliver a training or a masterclass inside there, it's like, with the replays only available for this amount of time, and then it gets taken down, right? So it's kind of creating that scarcity in people that they don't want to miss out, and so they'll go and watch the video. And you know that if they watch the video, you've got a call to action at the end, and so you want to get them to watch the video, right? And it's also why people do things like limited offers and stuff like that. Okay, again, it's creating this feeling of scarcity. It's like, why do we go and buy, like, I know for me, if they've got like at Macca's or something like that, if I drive through the drive-through and they've got like a special limited offer like McFlurry or something like that, I'm like, oh, I will need to get it now, because otherwise that flavor won't be available. Do you know what I mean? So it's like this feeling of oh, I need to get it now, right? Like a limited time offer. Okay. And then the last one, number 7, the last one that I just wanted to briefly talk about is unity, right? So unity, as far as a psychological you know, standpoint, is like creating the feeling of unity between the people that are your ideal client. And this, a way that this has worked really, that I've seen this in the marketplace recently, is a lot around COVID. Okay, no worries, love. Is a lot around COVID. All right. A lot around vaccinations. Okay, it's like it's bringing people together in unity. It's kind of like, and this is why people will create inside of their communities as well. It's like, you're not just like a Justin Bieber fan, you're like they've got like a word for it. It's like a Biebernator or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like they create unity of like a name of somebody. If you're a fan of this person, you are this. And so it's like a feeling of unity. They're like, yes, I'm a fan of this person, but it's not just a fan of them. It's like, I'm a part of the club. You know what I mean? So it's creating unity in people. And this is why, you know, again, it's so important for us to share our opinions. So how does this relate to us? Well, you know, it's allowing ourselves to create that unity by sharing, you know, that we're not going to get vaccinated, or we are going to get vaccinated, and why, whatever it is, right? Because it's creating the unity amongst people. And this one is freaking massive right now with the way that the world is shifting. You know, people want to get started with me because they are all on this journey of evolution. And this is what I'm creating inside of my community of people, right? It's like, I believe there's a new way. We're leaving behind the bullshit rules. It's kind of like we're uploading our rebel codes, and our rebel codes, not in a way of like, F you, I'm doing it this way, but in a way of like, I see a better way and I'm a stand for that. And I'm going to just go for it and not give a shit what anyone thinks, right? So it's creating this unity amongst my people because you guys also all want to do that. And it's allowing myself to step into that unity and share the vision that I have for this new world and what I'm creating and why I'm creating it, okay, so that I can create unity amongst my people that are watching me, right? This feeling of belonging, feeling of, yeah, you guys get it, right? So that's the last kind of psychology behind sales, okay? So, all right, there was a lot there. Now I'm going to go into, is there any questions around any of that, first and foremost? Or it's all feeling pretty good. Nicole, can you just, oh, you're right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure you're still there because I can't see you. You still there?
Doesn't sound like you can hear me unless I put this on.
Now I can. Yeah.
No, I'm good. No questions.
Awesome. All right, cool. I will share my screen. Okay. So what I will do, I will actually create a little sheet for those 7 principles, okay, and some dot points. I'll actually type that up when I'm driving down today, because I didn't actually teach these 7 points in the last training that I did around this sales process, but I just thought it was a really good extra thing to teach you guys today, to bring awareness to why we're doing this stuff. And so what I'll do is I'll type out some notes just so that you guys had that, and I'll drop that inside of the chat, and also I'll upload it into the office, into the, you know, portal, you know, so you guys have access to that. Okay. All right. So, and some examples of how you guys can implement this into your own businesses as well. All right. Okay. Awesome. So this is our sales script. All right. I'm just going to check my phone. I've got some messages through. All right. Okay. Okay, so this here is our sales script, right? And so you have access to this inside of the portal. There's actually a button that you can click on, and then it takes you literally to this Word document inside of my Dropbox, all right? So you guys can copy, either print this out, or you can copy and paste it into a Word doc if you want to change some wording and things like that. But I really suggest that you either have, when you're doing your calls, you either have it up on your computer like this so that you can follow it, right? Or you have it printed out and then you can highlight stuff, okay? So you can literally follow along. When I first started to do my calls, the way that I did it was I just had it up on my phone, okay? I literally just had it like up on my phone. I'd have the thing on speaker. I always have the phone on speaker anyway. And that way, you know, it's just on speaker and then I could just have it in front of me just to follow the notes, okay? So the first part of this is something that, and I haven't spoken about this too much with you guys, but this is something that I work with Alex a lot with, is calling in my galactic team. And the reason why I do this, and I feel like this point is so important, I wanted to share this with you guys without freaking you out and going too woo-woo straight away, is that sometimes we can feel like all the pressure's on us, especially in a sales call. Like, we can freak the fuck out because it's like, oh my God, I have to make this sale. And if I don't make the sale, it's like, oh, it's so much pressure, right? And so this, by doing this and just allowing yourself to, even if you don't want to follow this script, but even if you just like look up or just connect with yourself or meditate, right? And just be aware that you're not actually in it alone. Like, you are actually being guided. Totally takes the pressure then off it's your job to say the right thing. It's your job to pitch them. It's your job to make sure that you give them all the information. No, you've got a team there and you're being guided, right? And so allowing yourself to just be the channel and allow, you know, your guides to flow through you to ensure that you all can serve this person at the highest, right? And so this is literally the script that I say. I call in my soul family and being of the highest light to flow through me and serve this being at the highest, okay? I call in whatever the person's, you know, Marcy, maybe I call in Marcy's guides. It's so funny if the next person is a Marcy, because I've never heard of a Marcy. It comes into this container, into the container now to flow through me to ensure that we serve this being at the highest today. And I request that you whisper the answers to them directly, okay, for them to make an empowered decision for themselves, okay? And if they're my client by divine right. Welcome, beautiful being, guide, soul family. I love you and thank you for being here. Okay. So this is something that I say each time just so that I can connect and know that I'm not in it alone. Okay. And then I'm like, cool, we're all here. Awesome. Now let's have this awesome chat, right? So the first piece that we're wanting to talk about is when we're first getting people on the call. Why can't I go down? What is going on here? Okay, there we go. When we're first getting people on the call, building rapport with them is so important, okay? Matching and mirroring the way that they're kind of showing up. So like their energy, right? So there's a couple of things I want to say about this is that we do want to match and mirror, and matching and mirroring is something that's taught inside of like every sales, you know, training that you'd ever probably watch. But it's also really important to also just match and mirror, but hold your own unique energy as well. So if you've been showing up on trainings in an energy, like, you know, how I'm quite kind of like, you know, sort of thing. And if then I kind of got on a phone call with you guys and I was like quite quiet and, you know, a very, very, very quiet person, then you guys would be like, that's weird. Like, it's not who I was expecting, right? And then it would be weird, right? You would lose the connection. And so yes, match and mirror. Like, I wouldn't be like, if I'm talking to someone who's like super out there, boisterous, then I just allow my kind of boisterous, courageous codes to be showcased even more. But if I'm talking to somebody who's quite quiet, then I'll just kind of dull down a little bit, or dull down's not the right word, but just come back a little bit to my authentic energy, but in a more softer way. Yes, that I can kind of mirror the way that they are so that they feel comfortable talking to me, right? So we want to spend a couple of minutes like building rapport, just having a casual chat with them, right? So the way that I would usually start this is say something like, cool. Hi, are you ready to have an awesome chat with me? Right. And I don't really follow this anymore. So you guys will probably, you guys will be like, you didn't say that to me, but right. So I don't really follow this script anymore, but this is just a way that you can just start the conversation and build rapport. Okay. So you're ready to have an awesome chat with me, right? And then you want to say, out of curiosity, you know, what inspired you to book in the call with me today? Okay. And what you'll find is that literally they'll just start to sell themselves to you. They'll be like, because I saw one of your trainings and it was awesome and it helped me do this and oh my God, and all this stuff, right? And you're like, awesome, cool. And then you want to ask the next one depending on what they say in the first question, right? If they start to tell you that they just come out of the 5-day program, or if you know that they have booked from the 5-day program because you've just done a 5-day program and they booked directly from there, then you could maybe ask them, you know, in the next question, instead of have you done any of my free trainings, you might say, cool, did you do any other of my free trainings before you came into the 5-day program? Like, how much do you really know about, you know, what I do and all that sort of stuff? Okay, so you really want to get a good like bird's eye view of, you know, how long they've kind of been following you for, like, you know, what they've sort of seen of yours. And then again, you can bring to them the energy that you need to. It's like, I'm not going to start talking about like super, you know, galactic stuff to people who are, it's going to freak them out, right? And so I want to figure out, it's like, you know, what have you done of mine? Like, you know, what have you been through, and find out who they are and what they've seen of me first and foremost, so I know whether, like, what level of kind of woo-woo that I can start to talk with them, or if I need to be a bit more 3D in the way that I'm kind of communicating with them, right? So I think, you know, Karen and I think we went quite woo-woo in our call because she started talking about woo-woo stuff and I was like, cool, let's go woo-woo, baby. Yeah. Cool. So this is really, again, where we're matching and mirroring, right? It's like if the person's not telling you anything about soul or spirit or their higher self or anything like that, you're not going to go straight in with like talking about freaking their evolution and ascending. You know, you're not going to do that. You're going to match and mirror where they're at. Okay. So again, asking them what their biggest takeaway is really, really powerful, because they're going to start to have that commitment, right? We're going back to the psychology of commitment. It's like, yes, I had this takeaway. You've helped me here. It's like, I'm committed. I'm here. I'm on this call, and wow, I got this incredible experience already. That was my biggest takeaway. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we want to pre-frame what the intention of the call is. Okay. And this is really important because it allows you to have a bit of structure in the call, right? The thing that I see and that I talk to people, why the biggest reason why people blow their sales calls is because they go into way too much information. They start to map out like exactly what's inside the program. They give people all the hows, they go to all this detail. And then it's like the person is so freaking overwhelmed with all the information that you've given them. It's like they actually can't take action, because an overwhelmed mind does nothing. It freezes. We go into like fight, flight, or freeze. We're like, holy shit, I don't even know what to do now. I can't make a decision. Okay. So we want to have structure to this and also place you as the authority, right? So this is the intention. It's like the purpose of our chat today is to see how I can support you and which one of my programs potentially could work really well for you. Now, I have done a training specifically and a script specifically for network marketing, okay, that you guys can use, because obviously you're not going to say which of my programs, but what you are going to say of which of the Healy packages would work really, really well for you. Okay, so I redid this inside of the last round of Rapid Shift. And so I will give you both versions of this sales script and also both trainings. Okay, so you'll have access to the other little training that I did. It was like a 10-minute training on how to reword this to suit you guys. Okay.
Just saying woohoo, yay!
Yay, yeah, that's there for you guys. Because I know that Anne said, she's like, oh, I don't know if this really relates to me. And I was like, babe, it does relate to you. You're going to take the exact same process. And so what I did was I just did a little screen share and shared exactly how she would say this, okay? But so the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to ask you a stack of really clever questions, and then I'll quickly know within 10 minutes whether I can assist you. Okay, so this is really important because, again, you're setting the intention for the call. The intention of the call is to see whether they can get started with you or not. It's not to, you know, airy-fairy around and tiptoe around the fact that, yes, you have something for sale at the end. Do you know what I mean? It's like they know that already. It's like we need to take that off the table. I'm not tiptoeing around. This is the intention for the call, right? And then, you know, we'll know whether I can assist you. And if we can, we'll map out a full personalized plan for you. And I'll let you know which one for your okay, baby, for your situations, like which one of the packages is a perfect fit for you. And if you love it and the price fits, then awesome, we get to start working together and we get to make your dreams come true. Right? So how does that feel? And I usually always say that. And when I first started, because I love that, I'm like, and if it does fit for you and it's the right price and it's the right package and you feel really, really good about it, we get to work together and we get to make all your dreams come true. How does that feel? Right? And it's like, I bring that energy, right? It's like, yes, I bring my certainty. It's like, I want to make your dreams come true. So you probably remember me saying that on your call, right? I always say that. I love it. And originally it felt super clunky for me to say that. It was like, you know, it feels totally weird. It was like, you know, if one of my programs is a fit and you love it and the price fits, then awesome, we get to start working together when we get to make all your dreams come true. It felt so clunky, right? But then I just started to play with it and I was like, yeah, we get to make your dreams come true. People love it, right? Because they're like, wow, they feel really supported. They already feel that unity with you, right? Because it's like you're going to help them make their dreams come true. Guys, you have the same dreams. They have the same vision of you as you. Okay, so you're already creating that feeling of unity, which was the, you know, one of the the psychology of sales. Okay, cool. So in the first 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to chat to work out whether I can whether I can assist you. This is actually going to be into a bit more detail. Okay, cool. So with this piece here, I'm just going to pre-frame. The difference here is that we can do our calls in one call or in 2 calls. Okay, so depending on what your sales process is, I know for Mel, who will watch the replay, she is with an AGIC, and so for her, she does her calls in 2, and we've worked out a very specific way for her to do her sales calls on one of our one-on-ones together. And what we spoke about was doing the 10-minute pre-qualifying call first, and then if they qualify, and actually selling them into the lower end platform on that one, okay, and then if they qualify, it's like then taking them through the process and upselling them into the Enagic filter, right? So we're taking them through that sort of process. So for you guys, depending on whether you feel your process is one that is going to initially sell them into the platform first and then upgrade into the actual product and what package, or whether you feel like it just feels like really flowy to do all this in one call. So I do all of this in one call. I'll literally qualify people in the first 10 minutes by asking them these questions. And then if I feel like they're a fit, I then just continue on. Yeah. But if they're coming up with all these excuses and there's heaps of stuff coming up for them, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this isn't gonna work, I'll cut it off in 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. Sometimes, like when people are telling you their whole life story, if they're like the kind of people who aren't your soul avatar, because remember in the soul avatar training, one of my Hell's No avatars is like, they want to tell me their whole life story and like, you know, just share all the things, but then they don't want to change it. They just want to like be a kind of a waste of my energy and they're not willing to change. You know what I mean? I don't mind I love hearing people's life story when they're at a point where they're willing to shift their perception and actually change that life story. But people who are just like sharing it for significance, right? Generally, if you're getting people like this on a phone call, you know, it's like sometimes it can take 20 minutes before you can cut them off. You know what I mean? But you can tell that they're not your person, and you just got to kind of trying to cut it as soon as you can. You know what I mean, right? So yeah, you know, you want to qualify them within the first 10 to 15 minutes, and that's what I do. And then once I get all of the yeses and it's a go from there, then I'll continue on the phone call. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be on a call with someone for an hour who if in the beginning you can feel that they're not your person, right? You want to make that decision very, very quickly, okay? Okay, so this is something that you could say. In the first 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to chat to work out whether I can assist you, okay? And then it's going to take a bit longer to map out your plan. So this conversation could go all the way up to an hour if there's a specific block to address, okay? So I just want to gauge how much time you have today. I need a minimum of 10 minutes and we can reschedule the rest. Or we can do it all today if you have the time, okay? So depending on the way that you pre-framed this, for me, I always book in an hour call with people. It's always an hour time slot. And so I'm just assuming anyway that they've got the hour, but I would just say to them then though, in the first 10 to 15 minutes, I'll know whether I can help you. And then from there, if I feel like you are a fit for the program, then we'll go into more detail and map out a personalized plan, okay? So does that cool? You've got an hour spare, no distractions, and they'll be like, yeah, cool. And I'm like, perfect, let's continue, okay, let's get started. So you pre-framed that using both those, and then you've set the intention for the call, okay, and they know what's coming. And people like structure and they like direction. They like to be told the way that things are going to go so that they feel secure, right? They want to feel security that you're there to actually help them. So cool, let's get started. Okay, I don't know really why that one's doubled up. We'll have to edit this. something that I do say sometimes in the beginning, instead of what inspired you to book this chat with me, I'll say the first thing I love to ask, and I imagine this to you guys, is why me, why now? Okay, so you can say either of those things. Don't say it again though down here. I'm going to delete that out. Okay. Okay, cool. So this one is here if you do have some sort of application process, which you can do, okay, in the future. I know for you guys that are on here don't have this, but you know, in your application you said that your vision is this, okay, but what you guys would say at this point is, can you tell me a bit more about what you would love to manifest as a result of working together, or what's your vision, okay, for if we were to go ahead and work together, what would your vision be for the next, you can say 6 months, you can say 12 months, whatever you want, okay. And what they're going to do then is they're going to share with you what they're wanting to create, okay, what their larger vision is, where they see themselves in the next 12 months or 6 months or whatever, okay. And if you can help, then you're going to continue, right? But if you can't help, if they're coming up with all this stuff and they're kind of, you can tell that they're not the person, this is when you're going to say, oh, okay, unfortunately, I'm not the person to support you with this, because, so sometimes, you know, you might get someone that's kind of like, more wanting, I was on a call the other day with someone who more wanted mindset skills, mindset tools, okay, so she didn't have a business and she just wanted to get started in the online space, but she didn't have a business, and she'd been following me, and so she thought she'd reach out to me to see how I could help her, because obviously I'm successful online, and she wanted to see, you know, what she can do, but she didn't have a business. She needed a lot of mindset work, and she was going through a position where or a stage in her life where she was just trying to get control of her mind, because she had a lot of negative self-talk, she had a lot of that sort of stuff, and so I recommended her at this point to go and source, you know, other information and another way to get started in the business first, and then she needs to work on the mindset stuff first. It's like, yes, Rapid Shift has mindset stuff in it, but I can't help someone who doesn't have a business model. My business is someone with an impact-driven business model. I give you guys the energetics, the mindset, and the strategy to be able to create an income online, right, through impact and income. And so she wasn't a fit for the program. I'm like, okay, cool. You more need a coach that is just specifically for mindset, so you can just control your mindset first and just start on the personal development journey, right? And also you need a business model. Okay, so I sent her to 2 different sources for her to be able to go and source that first, and then I said to her, then come back to me and we can have another talk. Yeah, so this is where it's really important. You know, I probably could have sold that person to Rapid Shift. And it's like, well, but then she would have got in here and it wouldn't have been the right fit for her. And it would have been, you know, I would have had to dull down what I was doing, because it wouldn't have worked, right? And so it's like, this is about really ensuring that we're doing the right thing for the people, right? So then though, if you can help them, if they're talking about the things that you know that you can help with, like a lot of the time for all of you guys in here, it's like, well, I want to create this money, it's because of this is what I want to create in my life, all right? It's like, cool, I know that I can help you to get that. So yes, it's all ticks, all right? So the next question I really want to ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to this vision? This is a really, really important piece. Again, back to the commitment psychology, right? You want to know how committed people are. If they're coming up and they say, oh, I'm probably a 6, it's like, well, I can't help you if you're a 6. You know what I mean? It's like, how are we going to get you to a 10? You know, so you literally want to say to people, then if they're a 7 or a 6 or an 8, a lot of the time people will say, like, I want to say a 10, but like I'm probably a 9. You know, and then I'll say to them, okay, cool, well, like how can we get you to a 10? What's going on? Talk to me, share with me some more about what's the gap between you getting to a 10 so I can help you, right? So again, you literally want to coach them through it. It's like, I need to get you to a 10 because I can't help you unless you're a 10, okay? And this is the commitment level. Once you've got them, then you coach them through whatever the blocks are that are coming up. The objections, the fears are already coming through at this early stage. In the first 15 minutes of the call, you're already having objections come up, and you're overcoming those as you go. So once you get to the end, there's a lot less objections because you've overcome them as you've gone, right? You've coached them through the objections. It's like, cool, what's the gap then? So how can we get you to a 10? And we always want to get them to give us what they need. The sales calls are like, it's you doing a lot of awesome listening and asking some really clever questions not talking that much, right? We want to let them do the talking. It's like, cool, how can we get you to a 10? What do you need to get to a 10? What's the gap for you? So then they're literally going to tell you the gap. They're going to, you don't have to guess. They're going to say, well, you know, I've tried network marketing before and it hasn't worked for me. And, you know, I did this and did that. And then you're like, okay, cool. So what do you think it was about the last network marketing that you did of why it didn't work? Like, what do you think happened? And they're like, well, you know, to be honest, I kind of didn't show up. And like, okay, cool. There you go. You got the answer, right? It's like, cool. So what are we going to do differently this time then to ensure that you do show up? Like, why didn't you show up? So you're going to get the answers out of them. It's like, cool. Why didn't you show up? Oh, well, you know, I went through a separation with my husband and I was like a single mom. It was a freaking, like, you know, it's just time of my life. But now I'm ready, right? Now I'm totally ready. And you know what I mean? Or, you know, I didn't have a very good team, or, you know, whatever it is, they're going to tell you. And then you can say, cool. So then what's the changes that we can make going into this? And why do you feel like this is going to be any different? You're going to ask them. You're qualifying them. You're not just going to give them access to you. You need to get them to qualify themselves for your opportunity. Yeah. It's like putting you as the authority again. So with them, we're going back to number 4, authority, right? We're putting ourselves as the authority in this position, and we're guiding them through this as, you know, a leader. We're being a great leader for them. So it's like, cool. What are you going to do different? And so then get them to ask you. So then, you know, if once you're coaching them through these sorts of things, and then, you know, all this stuff will come out, or it could be fears. A lot of the time it's, you know, fears that come up for people. And so I'll coach them through the fears and how to help them through that. And then they'll sort of break out at the end and they're like, oh my God. And they're like, yes. I go, cool. Well, what are you now? And they're like, I'm a 10, I'm a fucking 10, right? So then we've gone back to the commitment, right? They've actually told me then that they're a 10, so they're much more likely to hold true to that word just because they don't want to look bad. Okay, so we're playing off this psychology that we've spoken about already, right? So we've made sure that we got the commitment level first and foremost, and we've got to get them to a 10. And if they're not a 10, we've either got to help them to get there, or if they won't get there, it's like, cool, well, unfortunately, I can't help someone who's a 7. And if you've spent half an hour coaching them, and this has never happened to me before, but just say that it has, then obviously they're likely to be a hell no avatar because they just got a lot of bullshit excuses that they've got to work through first. Yeah. Okay. So once we've got them to a 10, okay, let's keep going down. So we've got the green light if they're a 10 out of 10, okay? And if they're not, we coach them to a 10, okay? The next question that's really important to ask, and originally I didn't ask this, guys, and I burnt myself a few times, all right? So then I really started to ask this question. Now, is there anybody else that you need to consult in making a decision for yourself today before you invest in your growth, like your partner or your hubby or whatever, okay? Because one of the objections that comes up at the end is, I've got to talk to my husband, which, you know, I understand this one, and this is the most difficult objection to overcome, because a lot of the time people just do need to talk to their husbands. You know what I mean? It was a very difficult one for me to understand in the beginning, and this is where I had to really upload a lot of humility codes in being with people, in the holding space for people, because I would never consult my husband. I would just be like, a bullet a gate, I can just make the decision, right? And I wouldn't really need to do that. I wouldn't feel like I had to do that. But a lot of people, they want to consult their husbands, right? And so I had to, the thing that I started to ask was getting this out on the table first and foremost. So I know, okay, do they have a partner? Do they have a husband? And do you need to consult them, whether they do or they don't? No, cool, I make my own decisions. All right, cool, awesome. So that's not going to be an objection at the end then, perfect. Or yes, I do need to consult them. Okay, cool, so that's going to be an objection at the end. I know that, right? So I'm like, cool, so are they around? Can we get them on the call? And generally people will say no, because, you know, they haven't organized for their husband to be there. But then you're like, okay, cool. So is your partner or your husband normally on board with your growth? Okay. Has your partner been cool with investing in yourself or your growth in the past, etc.? So we really want to get a clear picture of whether the partner is on board or whether he's not at all and he's not supportive. The thing is that if you say to somebody, okay, cool, so that's all right, so he's not around, So is he normally on board with your growth? And then they're like, nah, normally he's a complete asshole and he doesn't support me at all and he won't let me spend any money or whatever. You're like, well, fuck, you're going to get to the end and they're not going to invest, right? Because they need to talk to their husband and they won't support them. So this is going to be a massive objection. So you, at this stage, you may even want to reschedule, depending on the connection that you've had with the person up until this point. But if they've come up against this objection and you know that they're not going to have the money at the end, then you're not going to be able to help them, right? And so they're either going to have to organise for their partner to be on the call, or it depends on the connection, okay? But you know this is going to be a massive objection. Nicole, did you have something that you want to say here?
Yeah, I want to ask a question about that.
Yep.
Because I'm so on the same page with you. Like I don't consult with anybody. So if that's my soul avatar and I get that because I'm exactly the same, is that not what I'm calling it? Like if I just say amongst this group here, how many people have that objection to start with? Because are we all not very much the same then, if we're all the same sort of soul avatar?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And I think, this, like I said, this is the only difficult objection because that I really find is because, I think out of all of you guys, there was some of you guys that did need to consult your partners. I know, Mel, when she first came into, I don't know, she won't mind me sharing this. She, needed to go back and talk to Tom about whether they were going to start rapid shift. She wasn't just going to make a decision like that. Yeah. Mel,
is that because they're a partnership though, rather than a permission point?
Yeah.
And exactly. I want to make that distinction, I suppose, then too.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's why you want to ask them, you do want to get information about this. So the next question is like, is there someone else you do need to consult? If they say yes, there is, you need to get information about that person, because if they need to consult them, you're then having to overcome that person's objection as well as their objection.
Yeah.
And if that person's objections are like they're full 3D, they think that energy is full of shit, and they've got the money and this person has no money. The other thing is, that I quite often ask now as well is like, what position are you in sort of to invest in yourself? Are you in a position to invest in yourself? Like, do you have your own money then? You know what I mean? So if they need to consult that partner and then they're like, oh no, I've got no money, I'm a stay-at-home mum, and so he'd be the one paying for it. This is where you just have to be really open with people and not be afraid to delve into what their financial situation is, because there's no point in you going an hour of your time and then getting to the end and they don't have money of their own. Their husband won't be on board with it because they think that energy is shit and Healy is just crap and it doesn't even make any sense to them. And it's just this person kind of like kind of dreaming, being a bit of a dreamer. Do you know what I mean? And their situation is never going to, like, some people book in a call with you and they're just kind of dreaming and they're never likely to ever get started. Like they just kind of book in a call because, are you going to go? Hang on, I can't see it. Yeah, no worries, love. Perfect, that's fine. Yeah. Love ya.
Thank you so much. I'm loving this call. Thank you, guys. Okay.
No worries. See ya. Yeah, so I think I can't remember what I was saying now. Being
dreamers.
Yeah, that's right, dreamers. Yeah, so there are people that will book in a call, and they're just kind of, I how do I want to say this? It's like potentially in another however many years, once they've gone through their growth a bit more, they might be in a position to do it. But at the point in their life where they're at right now, they're never going to be in a position to do it. And so, but there's a part of their soul that sees you online and they want to do it. And so they may be your 100% soul avatar because they can feel this internal compass inside them that's saying this is like something's drawing them to you, but their situation at the moment is never going to allow them to do it.
Okay.
And so
that makes more sense. Yeah. Because I'm thinking, how do you, if you've put all this out there energetically, how are you attracting these people then that are not then on the same playing field?
Yeah. We're never going to get 100% conversion. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're always going to get some people in that are either, the stuff that are your hell no avatar and you're kind of like, oh, how did I attract that person? You know what I mean? And then, we can overanalyze that too. Sometimes I would spend so much energy overanalyzing stuff. Like recently, I had a couple of sleazy old men reach out to me. And I was like, oh my God. I said to Alex, how did I track that? Like, I've really got to look at this energetically. And she's like, honestly, babe, she's like, sometimes you just like attract weirdos because there's just weirdos out there. She's like, I get sleazy old men sometimes too. Just don't think into it, you know, but sometimes we can really overanalyze it, you know? So, but I think in that situation, this person may very well be 100% your soul avatar at a soul level. They believe all these things, but they're not in a position where they've activated that coding within them. You know, potentially, if maybe this is probably a horrible thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Maybe in 5, because I know you won't care. Maybe in 5 years, they might split up with their husband, and then all of a sudden they're free, or in a year, and all of a sudden they're free, and they can then take the action. They might reach back out to you, right? Or maybe in another year, their husband starts to come on board and starts to understand about energy because he gets a bad back and then he might want to use the healing, and so then the situation would change. But she still has an innate like connection with you, and she's listening to what you're saying. She might follow you for 2 years, and then she might get started. Just
makes me think I've got to go and put back on my hell no avatar, and I need to check that I've got this. I do not want to attract anybody that has to gain permission from somebody else.
Yes,
I want to spell it out.
Yeah, and then the way that you are going to be able to attract that is that you need to talk about that in your content.
It's a bit ballsy. I'm not asking permission from anybody.
That's okay. You know what I mean? Like, this is how you're going to attract people that also agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to take the action too. Like, it's an energetic game, but if you're not taking the aligned action alongside that, then nothing happens. So it's the action and the energy. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're just energetically like, I'm only attracting people who are like, you know, don't need permission, and you're doing all the energetic work, but then you're not actually sharing that on your page, then people aren't going to know anyway. They're not going to connect with it. Osha, can you close the door, sweetheart? Osha. Almost finished. We need to be sharing who we really are, and yeah, it is ballsy and it is fucking scary.
It is scary because it's raising so much to me. Like, it's not that I believe everything's a partnership and I share things with my partner, but I don't have to ask permission to do things that I want to do.
Yeah.
But then I also turn around and say, I might even say to my kids, well, this is how you have to, like, it's all psychology. You need to make men think that their idea.
Yeah, you do actually.
Yeah, so I'm a bit scared about putting that up on Facebook now.
It's like,
shit, how do I do that without offending people? Interesting.
Yeah, well, you know, you're going to offend some people. You're going to offend people, you know, and then they're not your people.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, there's always another level of bold that we can go. You know, I could go much bolder in my content too, and it's something that I am doing. There's always another level of bold that you can go to, you know, and so it's just stretching just outside of your comfort zone, and also sharing from a place of just like, this is my situation, and sharing a story around it, rather than, you know, getting on and preaching that, you know, saying things like, fuck, if you have to ask permission, then fucking, you know, like, you know what I mean? Or like speaking directly to the people who aren't your people and kind of calling them out, because that's just an asshole thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody, it's not going to go well. Like, if you're just on there calling people out, it's never going to land well, you know. And even to the people potentially who are your people, calling people out like that is not going to really land well to anyone, because nobody really likes, you know, confrontation. You know what I mean? Talking about it in a way of like storytelling, and the way that when you invested in yourself, the way that you did it. You know what I mean? Like, the fear of investing, you know, you could do a post or a live or a video on, you know, people's fear around investing in themselves. So like, where's the fear coming from? Well, I know for a lot of people, it's like, you know, needing to get their husband to be on board, you know, whereas when I invested in myself in a coach, I got to make the decision for myself. You know, I always make the decision for myself. I don't need to. And so talking about it in a way like that, over, you know, calling somebody out if they do ask permission, you know. And I think as well in this, it's like not necessarily even, you know, you want to get clear on, is it permission or is it just someone that you need to consult? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, Mel and Tom did consult about, you know, if they're going to like reinvest in their program and what they like, where they were at, you know, and what they wanted to do. So that's different. That's more of like a consulting rather than like seeking permission from the person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even for people who, yeah, this is the most difficult objection, because there's different levels of this, and this is why in the beginning I didn't ask this, and I got caught so many times at the end. And then once you're at the end and you're giving the investment, you're delivering the investment, it's really difficult to then overcome objections because they've already got the investment, and then it's the end of the call. And so what they want to do is they just want to get off. And so it's really hard to overcome those objections at the end. They've kind of already made up their mind of what they're going to do. Whereas if you can overcome this objection 15 minutes into the conversation and you already know whether they've got a partner, whether they need to consult them, whether the partner's on board, what the situation is, all the things about it, then once you get to the end, you've already kind of overcome that. So they've already, again, committed to either the fact that, yeah, they're going to reschedule with their husband, or how would that go? Or, you know, no, the partner is completely on board and they've told you the partner is completely on board, sort of thing. And they've already committed to that. And so, but they would need to ask him, you know, or just consult with him. And so you've kind of got that out on the table. And then again, going back to the commitment, because they've committed to that, they're likely to then more follow through, rather than if you get to the very end and you're like, they're like, oh, I need to ask my partner. And then you're like, oh, you haven't even talked about that objection. And then you're trying to overcome that. It's like, you don't have a commitment there for them to do that. They're likely to just not do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're never going to get, you're never going to get 100% of people that you talk to get started, you know, so don't expect that you will. But this process is going to allow you very, very quickly to work out whether they are the person, and if they are, to help them to make the decision that's going to, or empower them to make the right decision to be able to create their dream life, right? And to be able to change their health and change everything about their life.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all good?
Yeah, a bit of thinking involved, a bit of revisiting in that process. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it can be a little dangerous. Like, I know I had this conversation with Claudia as well about she was saying that you know, some of the people that she got on a call with, they were her Hell No avatar, and I shared with her that, you know, because they didn't just leap, because they weren't bold, because they weren't, you know, like Claudia is very much like me and like you, it's like you make a decision and you just go for it, right? It's like you just do it. And I said to her, you know, we are actually the minority. You know, most people do need longer to, like, most people aren't as gutsy and bold and fearless.
Yeah. I've learned that.
So this is where, for you, I would go to, have you done the coding training?
Is that in the new Templar?
Yeah, it is. It's in the...
yeah, I've not done that yet.
Okay, so it's in...
I might need to take some non-judgment. Non-judgment.
Yeah, it is. This is going to help you do this training. So it's in the Badass Business section, and it's in Co-Creation with Soul.
Badass. Yep.
Co-Creation with Soul, and then it's the coding. It's coded marketing. So I talk in there about humility codes and uploading humility, and this is going to be
them, please.
It's really funny, like all of you guys in here, because you're all my soul avatar, all of us, you know,
don't understand.
can struggle, with people who don't just like take the action and do the thing. It's like I had this conversation with Claudia. We were mapping out a 5-day program, and I said, look, you know, I know for me, when I did my first 5-day program, I got like 100 people in there, And like 7 of them got on a call with me, and I was just like, what the fuck are the rest of the freaking 93 people even doing in here? You know what I mean? Like, why the hell would you come into this space? And I was really like righteous about it. You know, I was like, had this righteousness. And for me, I can be really righteous. It's like, why the hell? Like, what are you even here? It's like, no wonder none of you are making any money, because you're not taking the action and you're not doing the thing. And it's like, you know, I'd had this real like righteous kind of thing. And I had to learn, in order to become a really great coach, I had to hold space for people and be in it with people, you know, and actually upload those humility codes so I could be okay with the fact that people aren't me. And my job is to get them from where they are to me. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm expecting them to take the action that I take, well, then why do they even need me?
My analogy is that people are like, it's like the crack in the door. You've opened the door and the crack comes in. So they might be sitting in the background and they will come in when they're ready. So when you have that about that objection, I don't know. That's why I'm saying I have to relook at it, because I think if you've come now, then that's not an objection. It's not an excuse. You're here because you might have been sitting in the background. You might have seen the light cracking through and you're now ready. So if I'm on a call, I expect that just to be a yes.
So you just answered your own question. That's how you coach them.
Okay, cool.
So when you're asking these questions and you're saying, you know, is your partner on board, rah, 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 you literally coach them through that, you know, and then you ask them, well, why? You know, because you're on this call right now. And so the deeper you can get into overcoming that objection, that's a perfect analogy. And they're like, you know, you'd be like, well, why? Like, well, I don't understand why you'd have to, you know, and so then they might be like, well, this, and you're like, okay, but you're ready though. Like you've already said yes to this call. You're on a call with me. So why would you need, right? And then you're going to have that conversation with them. And so ideally at the end of that couple of minute conversation with them around their partner being on board, you've then coached them to a point that they feel empowered to make a decision without them.
Okay.
And this is what I'm talking about, because then at the end, once you give them the investment, you've already had the commitment from them by coaching them through and getting them ready to take the action without the partner, without needing to consult the partner, because they know that the partner's on board. They know that they do have it within them right now. They're on this phone call. They are ready. They've already said yes. Their soul has said yes. That's why they're already on this call with you. And so you've overcome that early on in the piece. And so when it comes up at the end and they feel it, they may want to say it again. They've already committed previously in the conversation that they're going to take the action anyway. This is why it's so important to have it at the beginning, because if you wouldn't have done that, that skill won't work at the end.
Okay.
So you need to make sure that if this is a really important piece for you, you need to make sure that you're willing to coach them over a couple of minutes if that objection comes up, and get them to a point that they are ready, because if you try and do it at the end, it won't work. Yep. Okay. And then do the coded marketing and really look into what I share about the humility codes and things like that, and start to upload some of those. Yeah. So we're kind of not like in our righteousness is like, what the fuck are you even doing on this call then, and you're not ready to get started with me? You know what I mean? Can come from a bit of a different energetic place. Yeah. Right. Cool. So then we want to move into, we're going to talk about 3 windows. Okay. So we're going to talk about money, we're going to talk about lifestyle, and we're going to talk about impact. All right. So I'll just kind of whiz through this part, because obviously we want to start with money. We want to find out what the desired amount of income that they want to experience per month or per year, etc. But then we also want to, like I said in the beginning, it's like people are making the decision firstly from the emotional place. So it's like, cool, we want the money, that's what we think we want, but what's the emotion behind it? What difference is this amount of money going to make in your life, in your business? Why are you actually wanting this? Okay. And we want to ask why, so that they are sharing things with you that are emotional for them. Right? Because we want to get out, cool, what's the emotional attachment that you have to creating this life for yourself, right? Or this change in your health, or whatever it is. Yeah. And again, this is where it's like we do have to scratch out the surface. We've got to get clear on, like, we've got to get them understanding that the pain for them to stay still, like stay where they are, is much more painful than them moving, because that's the only way that people will move, right? People will stay where they are until their pain level is like a 7 out of 10, and then they'll decide that it's so painful to stay where they are that they'll take the action that they need to take. We don't want to wait for them to get into complete, like, you know, their life is crumbling around them and they've hit rock bottom. We don't want our clients to hit rock bottom before they change. We want to show them that if they keep going down this path, they are going to hit rock bottom, and we don't want that for them, right? So we need to scratch it up so it feels like they're already at rock bottom, so that then they'll make the change before they actually hit rock bottom, right? Okay. So again, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. We are, you know, playing with people's emotions here, and so it's really important for us to stand in our integrity, which I know that, you know, everyone, you know, Nicole and everyone on here that's watching the replay is, you know, very heart-centered. So this is why you have access to these scripts. We're doing things from a place of integrity. Okay, so again, then we're going into lifestyle and freedom. Okay, I like to share a little bit of my story here, okay, and how I measure freedom, all right? And then for them, it's like, what's the desired lifestyle that you wish to experience, okay? And again, what's the difference that will make in your relationships, you know? Why is this level of freedom most important to you? Now, you don't need to ask all of these questions. Like, it'd be weird if you keep asking and asking and asking, but whatever sort of fits in with what they're sharing with you, you'd ask, right? So if they start talking about, you know, their husband works away and it's a strain and all this kind of stuff, then you're going to then ask, cool, what difference is that going to make in your relationships then, right? Because that's going to be a real emotional connection for them, right? Cool, thank you, got it. Cool, let's now talk about impact, okay? And this is one that is really, really powerful, and you want to make sure that you write this word for word when they tell you what the answer to this is. Now, the way that I do this is I actually do a T ledger, okay? So when I've got my notes, all right, so I've always got notes and I'm writing down what they're telling me, because what you want to do at the end is you want to then relay to them what they've told you, so that then they feel really understood, right? With the human, like, psychology of people, it's like we just want to feel connected, and we just want to feel like people understand us, right? And that we fit in. Like, we just want to feel like we belong. Remember those 3 fears that I've shared with you guys before? It's like we want to feel a sense of worthiness. Our 3 biggest fears as humans is, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I don't belong, or I'm not loved, not lovable. So we want to feel those things. We want to feel like we belong and that we're understood, right? And so we write down what they're sharing with us, and then we can relay what it is that they've shared with us at the end, and then they feel really, really understood and connected to us, right? And then they feel safe to invest. So the way that I do this is with a T ledger, okay? So, you know, I'd write down all the answers to what they want to experience on this side, their vision. That's what we're going through now. And then I flip the switch and I go to then talk about what they're currently experiencing. So then when I relay it, I have it next to each other. This is what they want to experience. This is the gap. And so I can relay that to them really easily. Okay. So I'm writing down notes in a T ledger. So then we want to obviously ask them what the impact is and take note of the exact words of what they want to be remembered as in 200 years from now. Okay. And why is that important to you? All right. And then we can ask some more, you know, details depending on how the conversation's going. But, you know, tell me how you see yourself impacting the world, etc. Okay. So then, this is where we've got the T ledger here. Okay. So then we're going to switch gears. Okay. And we're going to start to look at where you are now in relation to all of this stuff that you want to call into your reality. Right. Say money. Right. So what's the amount of money that's flowing in now? Okay. And, you know, how is that a problem for you? How is this blocking you from experiencing or doing what you want to do? Okay, so then we're writing down all what they're sharing with us. And then we talk about freedom, okay? And the way that I kind of relay this to people is, at the moment, what do you feel like your percentage of flow versus challenge is in your life relating to freedom? You know, so it's like, what percentage of flow are you in, and what percentage of your life do you feel like you're struggling? Do you feel like you're in challenge? Okay. And how is that a problem in your current reality? It's causing them a lot of stress. It's causing them a lot of, you know, all sorts of different things. It's causing problems in the relationship. It's, you know, causing all these things. And so you want to get an understanding and get them to share again the pains that they're experiencing because they've got so much challenge in their life right now. And we want to create this beautiful balance of flow and challenge. And I also, like I said, sometimes I share this with people, sometimes I don't, but I also share with people sometimes that, you know, for me, I wouldn't want to be in 100% flow because it's freaking boring. You know, when you go on a holiday for 2 weeks, and by the last 2 days, you're kind of like bored of just sitting around drinking pina coladas and doing nothing. You kind of want to go back to work, and you're like, you know, so we do need a nice percentage or like a balance, of flow and challenge, where we still do have some time in our life where we're kind of like striving for the next thing and growing and you know, in that kind of like hustle mentality, because it gives us kind of purpose. It makes us feel like we have purpose, but then we want to have enough flow so that we can balance out the masculine and the feminine, right? So for me, I say, you know, what's the percentage at the moment? And then sometimes I'll ask them, you know, what's the percentage for you that you would feel really good about? So for me, it's like, you know, 80% flow and 20% like hustle. I love it, right? It's like 20% of the time I'm launching, I'm doing stuff, and the rest of the time I'm just chilling out, right? So sometimes I share that as well if they don't really understand the question that I'm sort of asking, right? And then compared to your impact vision, how would you score yourself out of 10, like currently, like what impact are you making? Okay, so they can give you what their impact, like what they're experiencing now as far as their impact. Okay, so cool, thank you, got it. And then we want to ask them what has been the most valuable for them out of the chat so far. Okay, so again, we want to cement, you know, in their minds, it's like, yeah, this has been really, really, really valuable. I love when we talked about that because I had this aha moment, like that's amazing, right? And so it's, again, it's kind of like cementing their commitment to you. Okay, and we're getting like multiple yeses through the whole conversation, right? We want to then get out on the table whether they've tried, and you may or may not already know the answer to this question. So if they have already mentioned to you what they've done in the past, and you won't need to ask this, but have you tried other coaching solutions or other, you know, network marketing or whatever to reach this goal before, other solutions to reach this goal before? You may or may not need to ask that. Get the answer to that. Okay. No, you know, then you want to find out, if they do say no, you want to find out, okay, so what has been your biggest challenges in solving this problem so far since you've been doing it by yourself? Okay, so you can understand what the challenges have been for them. And if they do say yes, then you want to know what the objection is going to be, because they obviously didn't get the results that they wanted. And so there's going to be an objection there for you to overcome, as far as why, like what was your experience with them, and then what didn't work and what did work. You know, so what worked and what do you feel didn't work, and why you didn't get the results, you know, using that other solution before. Okay, and again, you may have already discussed this earlier on in the piece when you've been talking about, you know, how to get them to a 10 in commitment level, and it's like they've shared with you about their past experiences and why they haven't got there, and you may have coached them through this already, but you may not have. Okay, so if you haven't and you want to know, you want any objective, like you want to be scratching it up, it's kind of like just digging around trying to find what the objections are, so that you get clear on what are all their objections, so that then I can overcome all of these with them. Okay, so then it's like, cool, what didn't work? This next question here, and again, if they have tried other solutions and it didn't work, you're then coaching them through how we're going to do it differently. Okay, and if they haven't tried anything and they've got all these challenges, we want to coach them through that. Okay, and so overcome that objection, right? So this next question is a super, super important question, and so you literally highlight this to make sure that you never ever forget to ask this question. Okay, if there is any reason why you found the right mentor and the right program that would get you the results you want and it met your financial budget, that you wouldn't want to go ahead. Okay, they're literally going to say no. And then again, that's a very, very clear, like they've given you a commitment there. Okay, so again, you want to have the commitment all the way through from there. They've said yes to you multiple times. Okay, so is there any reason that you wouldn't want to go ahead? Any other reason? No, they've literally told you there's no other objections. Okay, they've told you there's nothing else that you need to overcome with them. So that then at the end, if something does come up, you can come back to this question and you're like, okay, cool. But when I asked you a couple of minutes ago whether you found the right mentor and the right program, etc., you said that there's no other reason that you wouldn't want to go ahead. So is there another reason that's coming up? Let me, tell me more about that. So we're just trying to get from them all the objections that they have, okay? And we can go back to this again. And again, if the partner thing comes up, you can be like, okay, well, 5 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, when we spoke about the partner, you said that you were ready to go ahead and that you knew that that this was the right time for you. Okay, so let's, discuss that more, kind of thing. And then you can just share with them that, hang on, 5 minutes ago, you said yes, though. And again, you're going back to the commitment and the consistency, because people will want to stay true to their word. Okay. So then this is where we want to relay to them what they have been experiencing, so they feel really, really understood and safe with us. Okay, so let me see if I've got this right to make sure that we're on the same page. And you're literally going to read your notes from the T ledger, your vision versus the pain of their current reality. Okay, and then you're going to ask them, how did I go? Is there anything else that you want to add to this? All right, or anything else that you feel like you want to share? Okay. Again, you've opened it up to see whether they have any other objections that are going to come up, right? So by this point, you've hopefully overcome all their objections already, okay? So hopefully there's not going to be anything else come up at the end, right? So then, well, again, I've doubled up this question. Yeah, so you can either, I wouldn't ask that again twice, okay? But you could ask it here or you could ask it back up there. So I'll delete one of those out of here. And then awesome, cool. So based on this conversation, I am super confident that together we can help you to achieve your goal. Okay. This is really important to say this to people, because people just want, they just want your conviction. They aren't confident. They've come to you because they want you to help them. They're not confident in themselves of how to get the results. They've got shit that they need to overcome, and they need for you to tell them that you can help them to achieve their goals. And you know that you can. Yeah. Now, whether they take the action that you tell them and they actually achieve those goals, that's two different situations. But if they do, if they embody everything they need to embody and they take the action of the person that's achieving the results, then you know that you can help them to do that. Okay, so you stand confident and just share with them that, yeah, I'm super confident. By this point, you've spent an hour with them, right? You want to be confident, otherwise you would have cut them off, in the first 10 minutes, all right? That I can help you to achieve your goal. That's going to give them so much confidence, so much clarity. I know that when, I remember very distinctly when Alex said this to me, I had 100K months in my goal, in my plan with her, on my call. And she said to me at the end, she's like, yeah, I'm super confident that together we can help you to achieve those 100K months. And that's probably the reason why I straight away got started, because I just needed someone to tell me that they could help me to achieve that, because I desperately wanted to achieve it. Yeah. And I will achieve that. And so just having that clarity and that confidence and that certainty and conviction from her to share that with me and have my back and to borrow some belief off of her meant everything to me at that point. Yeah. So then it's you want to get their permission in this next piece. Okay. So you want to get their permission and say, we are going to go a little bit over with this call, but that's okay. Where is it? Where have you gone? Okay. Here we want to get another yes. Okay. So would you like me to go through how your program is going to work, or how your package will work? Okay. So then it's yes, you're getting the permission. Yes, please share with me. Okay. So you got another yes. And then you're going to present the investment. So based on what you've shared, I recommend that we, we'll begin with this, etc. You want to then share whatever your package is. So it's cool, based on what you've shared, I recommend, the Rapid Shift program. The way this is mapped out is it's done this and this and this and this, and I'll share the entire program and the benefits of the program. Okay. For you guys who are in network marketing, it's you're going to share the highest package, all right? You're going to go for the highest package first. You're going to list out all the benefits, the features of the highest package and what it's going to give to them and why. Okay. Does this sound like something that you would benefit from? Okay. They're going to say, yeah, absolutely. Great. Awesome. And do you think that you could reach your goals, your whatever, using this package, this program? They're going to be like, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Or you can say, how does that feel? So cool. Then once you've got all those yeses, it's yes, I want to hear it. Hell yes, I feel like this is exactly what I need. Yes, yes, yes. Cool. So the total investment is this amount. Okay, or we have a payment plan of this. This isn't going to be relevant for Healy and Enagic, but obviously if you've got a coaching program, you don't even want to mention the payment plan straight away for coaching. It's like you want to just mention first, give them the option of the one-off payment. So it's like, cool, so the total investment for the program is, you know, $3,300 if you pay it up front. How does that feel? Right, and then they're going to say, oh yeah, that feels right, or you could say, is that doable for you right now? Okay, and they're going to say yes or no, and then if they say yes, then it's like, cool, the next question that you want to ask is like, cool, how do you want to pay for that? If you're in Healy, you actually want to then take them and get it purchased. You actually want to then go and sign them up. Cool, the next step for you is like, let's go, let's sign you up. You're going to do it with them. You're going to log into there. You're going to like create the username and password. You're going to go onto their username and password. You're going to literally purchase the product for them, and you're going to ask them for their credit card details. You want to get the payment on the phone, yeah? Or you at least want to get a part payment on the phone. So if you're in coaching, you know, and it's like, cool, you know, on that sounds okay, that sounds perfect, I just need to come up with the money, rah, and you're like, cool, well, I need a deposit, so let's just put a deposit down now, and then we can work out the rest later, right? So again, you need to get the commitment, right? You need to get a commitment. I always take payment over the phone, as you guys all know. I always take at least part payment over the phone, because you don't want to give people the opportunity to like drop into fear and then go get off the phone, and then what happens is they don't have you to coach them, and you've already established that your program or your package and your community and whoever it is the right fit for them. You don't want to give them an opportunity to get off the call without the skills, without the tools, without you to coach them, and then backpedal on what they've said, because that's what they'll do. You know, not always at all, but you know, a lot of people, they don't have the tools, right, to overcome this stuff themselves. They don't have you to coach them at the time. So then, you know, they're going to get off, and then they're going to have all their fears going to kick in. They're going to be like starting to doubt themselves, and they're going to have all these objections come up, and then they're just going to get overwhelmed, and they might ignore you for a couple of days because they can't take any action. All this stuff comes up, you guys, for people, okay? And so we want to just get the commitment. Once the commitment's made, then it's done. Then it's like they're already one of your clients. They're already, you know, one of your team members, and then, you know, they've done that, okay? So this is a really, really important piece. In the beginning, I didn't used to get payment on the phone, and a lot of people would backpedal just because it's human nature. This is the psychology, guys. Like, we start to doubt ourselves. We don't have the tools to overcome it ourselves, right? And they didn't have me to coach them on the spot. Okay, so we then want to, if it's in a situation of coaching, we want to then, if they can't do the upfront payment, we then share with them what the payment plan could look like. So that's definitely not an option. We can ask them about financing, etc. You know what, you could even with Healy and Enagic, and I know I've mentioned this to Mel, but maybe reach out to me if you're interested in this, Nicole, or anyone else who's watching the replay. I have partnered with Kelly, who is Alex's fiance, and she is a finance broker, and she does finance for like lifestyle purposes and coaching and stuff. And so if you're selling the highest package in Healy or one of the high package in Enagic, you could actually partner with her as a finance option. And so then you could actually offer that to your clients as a finance option. You know what I mean? So it's like, cool, well, this is the total amount for the highest package. Is that like possible for you? Well, not at the moment. So do you have access to finance? Because I've got a partner that's a finance broker in Australia. And so if they're in Australia, they can actually go and you can partner with Kelly, and then she can take them and get them financed for them. Yeah, so it's a really, really powerful way to do it. So if you want information on that, just reach out to me and I'll help you there. Then if neither of those are an option, you then want to give them an in-house payment plan option, okay, and then work out how they're going to go about doing that and paying that, okay, and that's your last option. Okay, cool. So you just want to assume at this point that they are ready to get started. It's like, cool, if they're like, yeah, that sounds cool. You just want to be like, cool, let's go ahead and put in your credit card details now. Let's go ahead and do the purchase. And most people, if they have the money there, they'll go ahead and do the purchase, okay, and you take them through the process. There's a whole heap of stuff at the end of here about objection handling that I'm not going to go in because we've gone over time now, but you can go through and we can, you can just read through how to overcome, and what some things that you can say to overcome the different objections. All right. One big one that does come up is block around money, and it's never really the money that is the problem. It's always either they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in you, or they don't believe in the product or the program. And so if they come up with, I just don't have the money right now, it's like, cool, you can actually share with them, it's actually not the money, it's one of those three things. So which one is it, so that I can help you to overcome the real objection. So it might be, oh, okay, well, because let's think about it. If we got our child abducted, and then someone, there was like a ransom notice of like $20,000, we would find the 20K. It's not that we don't have the money, we can always find the money. It just depends on what the priority is for us and what we spend our money on, right? It's like, I know people that have not got started in my coaching before I was really great at sales, and I'd get them on a call, and then they'd say they didn't have the money, and then I'd see on their Facebook they buy a new car like the week later. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you have the money. It's just, whether you feel like this is important for you right now, okay, and what your priorities are. So it's finding out what the objection is. That you, most people will say that it's them, okay? It's like, it's either you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in me, or you don't believe in the product. I've never really had they don't believe in me, but the product or the program itself, or themselves, okay? So if it's themselves, then it's, it's a fear-based thing. So it's like sharing with them, okay, well, so that just having someone holding you accountable and being in my energy and calibrating to me, and also having the group to support you and the training to step you through, is going to increase your results by 60%, just having that accountability with nothing else and no extra skill set. Did you know that? So how would you feel about having somebody holding you accountable and being in the space? How would you then feel about your confidence and your willingness to hold yourself accountable, knowing that you had that support there? You know what I mean? So you can overcome their fear like that. Also, there's a whole section in here about how to speak to people about their fear. And then if it is the program, you want to ask them, cool, so what do you need to know? Obviously, I haven't given you enough information. So what do you need to know about the program that is going to make you feel really comfortable and ready to take this next step with me? What's the gap for you? What do you need to know more about so I can help you, right? So it's like, again, you don't want to come from, because sometimes we can get triggered and we can react to what they're saying and say, oh, this is this and this and this, you just said this and this. But if you ask them, cool, well, which one is it? And if it's the program, it's like, so what do you need to know extra? You're actually asking them what the gap is, and then you can close it for them. Okay, so, oh, well, I guess I need to know this, and then you can, like, cool, and you can coach them through that. Okay. All right. And then you go back again to presenting the investment again, like, cool. So we're, and so then you can go back to that and then go from there.